Good morning everybody, here we are in July again. So this is the July arrangement, and what I'm going to do today is a contemporary triangle. I'm just going to use the flowers from the garden that I've managed to pick today, or yesterday in fact. I've given them a nice long drink, and I'm using a tall, can you see, a tall container. It's got a fairly small top, and so I've just put 1/3 of a block of Oasis, soaked Oasis, in there. It's a square top, it's a square piece of Oasis, so I've cut a chunk off the corner. I don't know whether you can just see it. I've shaped it just a corner so that I've got room there to put my water in. Because it's always important, if you've got a square container, to put a round piece of Oasis, or a piece with a chunk cut off, and if you've got a round one, then put a square piece of Oasis in, and then you've always got access to put your water in. And you know very well how to do your Oasis, I'm sure. So I'm going to start with, it's a contemporary, what you call a contemporary triangle, and so we start with the flowers rather than the foliage. In a traditional triangle, we would start with the foliage. Now, I'm probably going well out of the picture. Yes, I am, aren't I? Let me see if I can move the picture back a bit so that you can see it. There, can we see that? Yeah, well, you will, I think, eventually. So that's one piece of plant material, and it's a lovely double delphinium. They don't last very long time in the indoors, but they are so pretty that I can't resist them. And I'm just going to put a third one in, a slightly different one, very pretty colour, into the centre here. So I've just grouped them in a very vertical line, and then I want to make some horizontal lines. So I'm going to choose, when I can find it, here it is, some lovely catmint, Nepeta. You see, I've used it lots of times before because I'm very, very fond of it, and it grows very well in my garden, so that's always very useful. So it can droop down quite a long way because I've got, you know, the high or the tall container, so it can stand it. It can stand the width and the height that I'm putting it in. So I'm putting, again, I've put just 3 placements in there like that, and then to balance it on the other side, I'm not going to use flowers this time, I'm going to use some foliage. And again, you've maybe seen it before because I do use it quite often, and it's rubus. It's looking so beautifully shiny on one side and then grey silver on the other side, and it really is pretty stuff. It's a very much a bully because it grows everywhere. Once it takes off, and oh boy, you have your work cut out. But we have it in a wild area anyway, so we just let it get on with it. So I'm just putting perhaps just 2 pieces in to match the other, to balance it. I don't want to put it, I've got these bigger ones, you see, bigger leaves, but I think that would just be too heavy on that side at the moment, so we'll leave that. Then I have a little bit more vertical, and I'm going to use these lovely lamb's lugs flowers. They're so pretty, they last very well, they dry very well, they're absolutely fantastic. And I'm going to just sort of zigzag them down by the delphiniums, just to give me some points, because we must remember that flower arrangements consist of points, rounds and flats. And we get our rather round looking delphiniums in there, and so we want some points coming in from the landslugs. So there we are. I'll turn it round to you and hope that you can see it all right. It's quite difficult, isn't it? But hopefully you'll see it all right. And then I've got, as a variation, because this is mostly going to be blue and white because that's what's in the garden, but for a variation I've got some of the Buddleia globosa. It's almost finished, it's almost done, but it is this lovely bright orangey colour and really is a round, isn't it? So I'm going to put that in just as a transition between the vertical line and the horizontal line that I work again on when I've got these in. So let's just put those in as a transition. Can you see? That's just going between the two. The leaves of the Buddleia really wouldn't last very well, so I'm taking most of those off. And also because we want to see the lovely little orangey globes. They're really so pretty. And they've given us such joy in the garden because they're so bright. They just grow with very little attention, I might say. And yet we have so much pleasure from them. If we could get over to the shrub, that's rather in the wilderness, we would perhaps prune it hard once it's flowered, but I doubt whether we'll be able to get out there, to be honest. It's just too difficult to get at. So as long as it just keeps flowering and giving us some joy, then we will leave it alone. Now, is one more piece? Yes, one more piece. And I've made a sort of arc of the orange Buddleia. Okay, so that's not so bad. Now, let's find some other things. My main flower is going to be some beautiful roses from the garden, but I want to put those in really, I think, towards the end, although maybe I'll put a bit in now. No, I won't. I'm going to put some more intermediate material. And the intermediate material that I've got today are some little white daisies and some very pretty pale pink astrantia. The astrantia is a very pretty colour, pincushion plant it's called, and it's really lovely. So we'll repeat really the arc formation that we did with the orangey Buddleia, and intersperse it a little bit with that. I'm going to keep it all on one side, this astrantia, and then I'll put the daisies onto the other side. These are very pretty little, I don't know whether you call them dog daisies, moon daisies. They're wildflowers really, I think, but they've come into my garden and I've welcomed them. So there we are, they're just coming in nicely. I'm working against the light so that hopefully you can see pretty well, but what I'm seeing is that Buddleia leaf is damaged, and so I'm going to cut it off. Never be afraid to make your plant material do as you want it to do, because that's what flower arranging is all about. Flowers really arrange themselves most of the time, but if you want to put them into a specific shape or size, then you have to be the boss and tell them what you want, or put them into the position that you want. But there we are, that's just the little daisies. There's another piece of astrantia here I have. Just one, is it? Yes, I didn't pick too much because I like them in the garden actually, so I really like to see them in the garden. Now that's one sort of going towards the back a little bit to give some depth to the design. Okay, still very airy-fairy, isn't it? So I perhaps need something a little bit more weighty in the middle. And what I'm going to use are some beautiful hostas. I've just got three. And they're called, I don't know if you can see them, they're called Patriot, and they really are the most beautiful things, and they're beautiful green and white, and will, I think, tone very nicely with this arrangement. So I'm putting them into a little group, little layered group, right into the centre here, so that we can really make the most of it, and perhaps one going towards the back. So it's rather nice to be able to see right through the arrangement to the back. There we are. And I've also got, I'll just put that, I'll show it round to you so that you can see where I've put them, right into the centre, so it's drawing the eye now into the centre. And then to draw it in a little bit more, I've got some variegated Weigela. The flowers have been magnificent. They just have a sort of quite a pale pink flower, but there have been so many of them this year, been wonderful. But I'm just going to use the foliage just to bring in a little bit more weight into the centre, and also to help disguise all this bit of oasis that we've got here. So they're very pretty. They're sort of slightly creamy edged one. The Weigela flowers are a pale pink, and I don't know that they actually add to the plant particularly, but there certainly have been plenty of them this year. There's been a lovely sight. So just bringing those in to make a little bit more weight at the bottom, otherwise we're a bit sort of airy-fairy, and we don't want to be too airy-fairy, do we? Now I'll bring a bit of it across here, and I'll turn it around in just a second for you to see. This was just one piece, and I didn't want to cut it into small pieces before I started, because I wanted you to see the size of the piece in the first place. But, it does mean I've got to do a bit more cutting, which is perhaps not so good, but there we are. And the last one, more or less, I think. Trimmed them and trimmed them. The wood is quite hard, actually, it's surprisingly hard. I'm going to put that tucked in at the back so that we've got a little bit of space. So there's the green and white all in the foliage, all in together. And then to add to that fullness really is I'm going to put some Alchemilla mollis. But first of all I'm going to put this little piece of rubus right at the back, because I can see that there's quite a lot of bare oasis for you to look at when I'm not turning it round. So we just tuck those in at the back, and use this lovely Alchemilla mollis. It's a wonderful standby. It's a lovely frothy flower. So we'll pop that right into the centre, because I can put the rose stems, which are actually quite thin, right through it. There we are, just a little grouping. I might come back and put a little bit more in a while, but that will do, I think, just at the moment, and then we can have a little bit coming in on the front face of the oasis so that it comes forward and we're not too flat at the front. You never want to be too flat at the front, not like ladies who always like to be flat at the front, but the flower arranging doesn't want to be flat at the front if you're doing a nice triangle. So that's just a further piece of Nepeta, which I'll just pop into here. Raise the side a little bit more. That's lovely. Now, let's get to my roses. They are just beautiful. But they are climbing roses. They are Madame Alfred, and I've forgotten the other name, but anyway, it's Madame Alfred something. And they are so pretty, but they last a very short time. So I picked these in bud, most of them in bud last night. They smell magnificent. So I'm just going to pop them right into the centre because they are my main large flower. But they won't last for very long, and I know that, so I'm prepared for it. I shall have to whip them out and put something else in instead. But they are so pretty that, and I've never used them before. I've never had enough of them to be able to pick them, and so you're very honoured because I've picked them for the very first time, and they're going to perfume my house beautifully because they smell absolutely gorgeous and beautiful. And they grow on the fence, and this year I've got a really nice show of them. Just letting it droop down a little bit, and then I've got some buds here on a larger stem, and I thought I could pop those in as well, but perhaps as individuals. So we'll just put those in around and about the large ones because they won't show much in the way of colour in the beginning. They'll have to come out, but it'll be a joy to watch them actually come. I'm just making sure I get them into the actual oasis and don't just lean them against something else. Oops. There we are. This is a bit of the thicker stem here, but I think that will go into there. Press hard, that's it. Right, I'm stepping back, just have a little look, because I've just one more. Let me turn them round so that you can see the roses are in position. I've just one other flower that I want to put in, and it's this lovely thing called a Galenia. It's a very elegant little white dancing flower. You've seen it before, but it's so pretty, and I thought that could just dance all the way through the design. So although this is a contemporary, I call it a contemporary triangle, it's becoming more and more traditional, to be honest, as I put the garden flowers in. Probably a true contemporary one would only use florist's flowers, but well, we've got such lovely flowers in our gardens at the moment, we might as well use them, mightn't we? But the main thing about being contemporary rather than traditional is that mostly you group the flowers and they form lines, rhythmic lines within the design. And I think that that will probably be enough. Tempted to go on and on if you've got more flowers in your basket, so it's better, I think, to stop, put the flowers aside, turn it round to you. I hope that you can see it nicely. I'll take a picture, I'll take it off the pedestal, off the roundabout, can't think what the proper name is, and then it's down here like that, and you can see it a little bit better. So that's my July arrangement. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll have a rest for August, And then hopefully in September, those of you who are still with me, and thank you so much for staying with me, we'll meet face to face and be able to have a proper hands-on flower arranging afternoon. I hope on September the 13th, it's the second Monday of the month. The venue will have to be intimated to you at a later date because I couldn't get a firm commitment. But I will tell you where we'll go and arrange, and I hope that you will be able to come and enjoy some more flowers with me. Meanwhile, have a happy summer. Bye bye.